Now that you watched the video on the initial setup of the BA2 Plus Texas Instrument Calculator as well as the Introduction Time Value of Money, let's calculate 4 time value of money problems using the BA2 Plus Texas Instrument Calculator. I'm going to first set the problem up here, and I'm going to go ahead and put some numbers. Let's say that we start here at a present value, and in 10 years we have a future value. And let's say the interest rate or compounding rate is 10%, and you place $100 in the bank. Now I use $100 negative because I'm placing it in an account, therefore it's going away from me. If I leave that out of the calculator, it's going to give me the future value as negative, and I want the future value to be positive. Now, it's a simple calculation. If we were to do the math here, the longhand math, it just says the future value is nothing more than the present value, 1 plus the interest rate, which would be 10%, over 10 compounding periods. Now, our BA2 makes light work of these type problems, and here's your time value calculations are right here. So I usually work from left to right. So I'm going to start at left here at the end. So I have 10 years, and the interest rate was 10%. I don't need to put any percent sign or 0.10. It does it for me. And PV is 100, so I'm going to go ahead and place in the negative here, 100. And then I have to hit the compute NPV, and I get the future value is 259.37. 259.37. Now, what if the question was asking not what is the future value, but what is the present value? Or for instance, what it was saying, what is PV if we know FV and we have the interest rate? Well, for going further in this formula, I'm going to pretend like we're looking for $100. We're going to ask the question, how much would be placed into an account today that grew at 10% in 10 years so that I have this much money to retire on? Of course, you're not going to retire on that amount of money, but we're just coming back. We refer to that as actually discounting. And I frequently tell students that if you want to undo your multiplication, you divide. So if that was 9 times 9 is 81, 81 divided by 9 gives you back my 9. So I could just divide 1 plus r to the n here, but I find it a little bit cumbersome to divide, so I multiply by its reciprocal, and it'll give me the present value of this number. It'll be less than 1. Less than 1 multiplied by this would give me a number less than the original amount. Again, the calculator does light work of this, so let's go ahead and clear it, and I think we'll know that if we know the answer, but if I ask the question, if I discount over 10 years at 10%, a future amount of 259.37, that'll be my future value. I want to compute the PV or present value I get due to some rounding errors. There's my $100 back. So let me go ahead and clear this one, and let's minimize this, and let's bring in a second element. Let's say that we're not looking at like a lump sum here, but we're looking at payment. So we'll put a payment here of $100, and let's go ahead and put 10 payments of $100. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll put my 9th one over here. I'll just put another one right here. So I should have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the 10th payment comes at the 10th year. It doesn't mean it's future value. It's a payment. So if I want to calculate this one, I'm going to be looking for the future value. But now I have a payment, and I'm going to multiply that by 1 plus r raised to the n. I'm going to divide that by r, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract a 1 from it. And using this formula, I will get this future value of annuities. So I'm going to pull the BA up here, and I have 10 payments at 10%. And I don't have a present value. I'm assuming that it's 0, and I didn't make my first payment to the year 1, so I'm going to go ahead and just place this as a payment, and I'm going to make my payments as negative, and I get a future value of, compute future value, of $1,853 $2.11. Now I can do the opposite as well. What if I'm looking for the present value of these future annuities? Or how much would I pay for those future payments? Or perhaps maybe I'm looking at how much is buying a piece of equipment that saves or makes that kind of money at a 10% rate. Again, we're looking for equals. So down here, I'm going to go ahead and say if I'm looking for the PV of annuities, I multiply it by the annuities, and I'm going to put my formula here. Now this is why I always do it by the reciprocal, because the formula does not divide, but there's your reciprocal there. And we subtract it all from 1, and we divide it by R. With that formula I can get it, or I can come up here and say, okay, let's clear this. And we're looking for PV, so we have 10 payments, 10% discounting rate, and I'm looking for the PV. Now I need my payments. I'm going to leave my payments as positive so that this number will be negative. Now I'm going to compute, and I get 1,300. Oops. 1,328.91. 28.91. Now what these calculations are telling us is that these are equal in the minds of time value of money at a rate of 10% over those periods of time. You can see how the calculator can make work of these problems a little easier than doing them by hand, although doing them by hand is not that difficult at this with some of these problems.